Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to another broadcast. Today I want to talk about The Amazing Spider-Man number 795, or more specifically, that time that Dan Slott's Peter Parker made a deal with Loki, even though he explicitly said that he knew that making such deals with guys like him was a bad thing that came with a price. And yeah, we're just going to get right into it. So a lot of this coming to the end of Dan Slott's run, so some of this stuff, you've heard me say before. It's no surprise, no shocker, but it almost seems like he's taking it up a notch as he nears the end. His trolling level, he wants to go out as a master troll. So Peter Parker, again, he's lost everything. He was once a billionaire who was just throwing out money left and right. He had a nonprofit organization, the Uncle Ben Foundation, that was doing the exact same thing. All of that crashed and burned because of a stupid decision on his part to thwart Dr. Octopus. Again, none of this needed to be done. He basically hit a kill switch on all of the intellectual property that he had and all the work that everyone had done for Parker Industries. Boom, down the tubes. And just everything gone, and dealing with the fallout with that with the shareholders left him with absolutely nothing. He was apparently so stupid that he didn't have any sort of nest egg anywhere, didn't gift anything to Aunt May during the course of his time as a CEO that would have been safe in the event that something like this happened. Nope, nothing. So he doesn't even have a suit that is warm enough for New York City winters. He's got to wear a little cap like myself right now, and now he's got a scarf and a little vest like Marty McFly in Back to the Future, which is fitting because we're going to be talking about time things. So he's back at his job at a newspaper. I also forgot to mention that he has moved out. He's not on Bobby's couch anymore. He's at a junky apartment in New York City. And as an editor at a newspaper, the head of the science division, he would be able to afford more than just a crappy apartment. Anyway, a raven beckons Peter while he's at work at the newspaper, and he immediately goes to see what's going on. He thinks it's from Doctor Strange. Nope, it's Loki, who is now this sort of androgynous female, male thing. I don't even know the whole story on that. I don't know if I even want to know. Loki says, hey, you're having a bad time. I owe you a favor. There's no editor's notes as to if this is just made up on the spot. I don't know if he owes Peter a favor at all. He just says that he does. And he says that he can turn back time. Peter says, this always ends badly, this sort of thing, and there's no way that I'm going to do it. And in fact, he even alludes to the deal with Mephisto. He says, I have this feeling that I've done something like that in the past and lost something important because of it. So he acknowledges right here, if you deal with these demigods, the magic that can fool around with time, these evil villains, that when they do that, there is always a price to pay. It's a Faustian bargain. And he gets upset and he loses his cool, smashes a vase, which frees these strange magical hornet creatures. They go out into the city. Peter says he needs help to deal with them. Loki goes with. The hornet creatures end up stinging New Yorkers, and I'll get back to that in a little bit. So what is also going on simultaneously is that Aunt May called Bobby, wanted to eat lunch with she and Peter, and Bobby didn't know how to get out of it. She goes and she says, hey, we broke up. We're not together anymore. And Aunt May says this is indicative of Dan Slott's run. She goes, what did he do now? Constantly treating him like a man boy because under Dan Slott's watch, Peter is a man boy. She has this contempt for her own nephew. He's always screwing things up. And of course, he lost the tech empire, and he lost the Uncle Ben Foundation. This is all Dan Slott's doing, but the characters logically react like Peter Parker's an idiot because Dan Slott has turned him into an idiot. Now, here's the other thing. Bobby says that they broke up because outside of work, they have absolutely nothing in common. This has been a critique of fans like myself since the start of this whole ridiculous ordeal. We said it was forced, it was ridiculous, there was no chemistry between them, it was just a Slottian mandate that was happening because he likes when Peter hooks up with random people. And here's the other thing. For anyone that's been in relationships, as many as Peter has, as time goes on, you make mistakes. Like early on, you do things as a young man that you wouldn't do. You take people for granted sometimes. You're just new to dealing with intimate relationships with the other sex. And as time goes on, you understand, you get a feel, especially if you have a spider sense, for if something's kind of iffy, you don't want to go down that road, you don't make the same mistakes over and over and over again. Unless you have zero self-awareness or you just have all sorts of problems. So the fact that Peter would get into this dead-end relationship is absurd. And fans, as time has gone on, they see this. They want Peter to mature. They don't want him to be a perpetual man boy. But again, under Dan Slott for roughly 10 years or whatever it's been, that's been the case. Anyway, Bobby and Aunt May are at a restaurant in the city when these hornet creatures escape. And the only way that the people that have been bitten or stung by them, the only way that they can be cured is if Loki gets some of their venom or something along those lines. And Peter lets loose after he finds out that they're not sentient, although I don't know why he really cares. They're just bug creatures that are hell-bent on destroying all of humanity. Anyway, he throws one through a window, of course hurts Aunt May, and Bobby is there, she's shielding her, and the whole thing is kind of ridiculous. Anyway, he leaves, she's like, yeah, get that guy out of here, she should be fine, blah, blah, blah. And that's where Peter finds out that one of the New Yorkers that has been stung by the hornet monsters has died. And Peter says, that turn back time thing, do it. And then Loki says, for a stranger? Madness. And Peter says, it's my favor, and I'm calling it in, whatever the cost. Now, this is, again, impulsive and crazy and stupid. Loki says, okay, well, I'll take you back to the height of your financial well-being when you were CEO of Parker Industries. And Peter says, no, I just want it to be right before I crack the vase that started all of this kind of stuff. Again, he has all the time in the world to just sit back and think about what's going on, think about the ramifications. If you're going to use the turn back time deal, why would you just say, send me back to this moment and, no further back in time? It doesn't really make any sense. And again, like I said, he brought up the Mephisto deal vaguely earlier. He acknowledged that making any sort of deal with Loki is going to have a price. Again, it's a Faustian bargain. And he even went back to the clone conspiracy with the Jackal, the same stuff. Anytime you try and play God, bad things happen. But that's exactly what Peter Parker does. Now, longtime subscribers of my blog and also of YouTube know that I've said before that Dan Slott and basically Marvel, a lot of the writers, they have a God complex, and they prove it by sharing. Dan's shared a quote by Alan Moore, and he essentially said that fans don't know what they, quote, need. Same thing Tom Brevoort has done years ago with the Mephisto deal when he said that it was like medicine, and he said that the medicine may not taste good, but if it makes you better, then you need to take it. So the deal with the devil for all intents and purposes. In Marvelville, fans need it. You need that deal with the devil. Loki, you need that deal with Loki if you're Peter Parker. Now, his credo is, with great power comes great responsibility. You would think he would take responsibility for his actions. He would know, I was impulsive. I was admittedly kind of tricked and lured by Loki, and it had consequences. This guy died, but messing with time, messing with life, someone literally died, and turning in a cosmic sense into a cosmic zombie because you're greedy, you're selfish, you can't deal with the consequences of your own actions. That's going to have far-reaching repercussions into the Marvel Universe, or it should. If I were the writer, that Peter's decision would have all sorts of bad consequences to it. But this is Dan Slott, so he's off the book, whatever. Now, again, longtime subscribers to my blog and also to the YouTube channel will remember the time where Dan Slott said that his favorite Spider-Man villain is Peter Parker, and he yearns for a deal with, quote, the ultimate devil. That was the Jackal, essentially, during the clone conspiracy. So Peter Parker wanted that deal with the ultimate devil, even though it had, again, bad consequences for him. All of this stuff sort of ties in together. At the time, you could probably go back either to my blog or the YouTube comments, especially the YouTube comments. People, as they always do to me, said, Doug, you're over-exaggerating. This is Dan Slott. He's just saying that Peter is a screw-up. And I said, no, he's a writer. He uses his words very carefully. A good writer, or at least one that wants to be a good writer, is very cognizant of the words that he chooses and saying that Peter Parker is a villain and that he wants to make a deal with the ultimate devil before trying to get involved with the Jackal and bringing back his loved ones, and now making deals with Loki, even though there's the Mephisto stuff. He literally says to the character he knows it's wrong, but he does it anyway. He can't help himself because in Dan Slott's mind, Peter Parker is a villain. And yes, he is the superhero who could be you, who just so happens to make deals with the devil. And when the deals with the devil go wrong and he knows it and he can feel it in his heart and soul because all sorts of stuff has been changed, he makes deals with Loki. And then the Jackal, Dan Slott's quote-unquote ultimate deal with the devil, tries to get involved with him, tries to play God, and it keeps blowing back on him because that's logically what would happen. And guys like you and me, and also female fans of Spidey, they know you don't make deals with devils. Anyway, the point of this issue again was that Dan Slott is going out on a high note if you consider trolling fans a high note. If you're into trolling fans and proving once again that Peter Parker is a man boy who even his own aunt looks down upon him. He's a failure in her eyes, and he's a grown man who gets in dead-end relationships with women he has nothing in common with, loses his cool and lets loose evil hornets that kill people on the streets of New York City, and then goes against everything that he just said earlier in the book about making Faustian deals with evil, malevolent beings. This is your superheroes today. Thanks a lot, Dan Slott. Appreciate that. Anyway, guys, that's about it for now. Thanks again for tuning in. Thanks to all my Patreon members. Thanks to everyone who has subscribed recently and all my long-term subscribers. I appreciate that. And I will see you soon. See ya.